Hi everyone, welcome to my week 10 and 11 pregnancy vlog. I'm actually 12 weeks and Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 3 days today. But I'll do a 12 and 13 week update once I'm through this week. Anyway, we're here. That is exciting. So much has happened. Let me start with week 10. Week 10 was emotionally pretty wobbly. That was the week that I lost my baby last year. I didn't find out till week 11, I don't think. But the baby had stopped growing about 10 weeks, 2 days, something like that. And I really struggled that week. But I ordered a Sonoline B Doppler, which I have used previously in pregnancies before. And I used that a lot during week 10. They say not to use it too often, but I just kept having flashbacks to being in that ultrasound and the woman saying there's no heartbeat, and I just kind of gave myself the grace that week to be able to check the heartbeat and listen to the heartbeat. Anyway, so I've actually heard it for the first time 10 weeks exactly. And I had been tracking this package and I didn't think it was coming for another couple of weeks. But I realized that I was tracking a different package and it wasn't that. And then Mark was like, oh, your Doppler arrived. And I was like, oh my God, that was just so meant to be that it arrived week 10, which was always going to be a wobbly week for me. So the moment it arrived, I snuck into the bedroom because I like doing it privately. I don't like trying to find the heartbeat while someone's listening. So I decided to give it a go and I wasn't really expecting anything. I found the heartbeat within 5 seconds. No joke. I'll show you my belly. It's gotten really big. So I put it right down low, I won't show you, but right here in my pubic line. And directly under my hadrua line from my belly button down to where my pubes start. And it was so low down. And I found it within 5 seconds. So what you're listening for is obviously, that's what it should sound like, a horse galloping. Not the that noise, that sort of longer whooshing noise, that's actually the placenta. But I always know that the heartbeat's kind of near the placenta. So once I hear the quite loud, I always just do a little circle right around there. And then sometimes I notice, that first time, found the heartbeat immediately. 2 days later, I tried again. I'd been in the ocean. I got hit by some waves and I was like, oh my God, is everything okay? And then it took me a little bit longer to find it that time. I would say it took me 15 minutes. I mean, a lot longer than 5 seconds. And I could feel the sweat building up and I was like, oh my God. And so I took a break, tried again, took a break, tried again. And then what I realized had happened is because the baby was so little at 10 weeks, the baby had obviously, when I first did it, I just got lucky. The baby was obviously closer to the surface and I've got an anterior placenta. It's been confirmed via ultrasound. So my placenta's at the front. So the baby must have been sitting quite high up, which is when I put the Doppler on, I could hear the heartbeat. I think what happened and why I couldn't find it as easily that next time is that the baby had sort of dropped further down into the uterus, because when I found it, it was in the same spot, but it was really distant. I could still hear it, but there was such a distance to it. And I was like, okay, the baby's gone lower. So that was, I would say that was really reassuring that week, because I just knew, I'm hearing this heartbeat. I know the baby's okay. And I did it either every day or every second day during that 10 weeks. I also traveled to LA when I was 11 weeks, and I wasn't prepared. What I really wanted to do was get my healthy NIPT test results back, which I actually got my bloods taken exactly at 10 weeks. And I really wanted those results to have come back before I started telling more people, like telling my family, telling my agents, telling some of my friends, etc. And I didn't know how long it was going to take. So I got it done on 10 weeks. And then on 11 weeks exactly, I was traveling to LA to receive this award, this acting award. And I was only traveling for 2 nights. Mark and I were going on our own. We were leaving the kids behind with my mum. And we were collectively going to be away for 4 nights. So the day I turned 11 weeks, I knew I was seeing Sarah that night at the awards, and Sarah's pregnant, as you guys know. But by the time you watch this, she's probably already had the baby. So I was like, okay, I have to tell her, because if I see her at the awards, she's going to hug me. She's going to feel belly to belly. She's going to feel that. So I'm going to surprise her. So I surprised her on the podcast, which was the best, best feeling. It was so exciting. I loved it so much. We started talking about pregnancy. The whole episode was about pregnancy at the very end, around like minute 40, because usually our podcasts go 45 to an hour. I was like, I had planned out how I was going to do it. That like, oh, you know, Bodhi and Wyatt were 6 months apart, and Esme and Forrest were 4 months apart. And then these babies are going to be 4 months apart. And then I went like this. And I showed her my belly. And she was like, ah! She just started screaming. So by the time that comes out, I think I'm going to wait till my 16-week scan and then have it out. Release that episode so that it's out in the world. So that was amazing. And then once she knew, I went to the awards thing, and then I was on our way back, and it was the day before my birthday. We had landed in Australia, we had landed in Sydney, and we had one more flight to get from Sydney to Byron. And I get a text from my midwife saying everything low probability for the NIPT, and I just burst into tears. I was with Mark and I was like, oh my God, it's low probability. And I think that was the thing for me, that was one of the massive milestones I wanted to get through, because obviously last year in my loss, my NIPT came back as high risk for how do you say it? Trisomy? No, trisomy. Oh, you know what I mean? Anyway, T21, which is Down syndrome. Trisomy. I think that's it. And it had high risk. So I knew that was another thing I had to get through, is like, okay, the baby passed in utero last time. And then my results came back a few days later. It was like the day before my D&C, my results came back saying that the baby was high risk. And I was like, oh, okay, well, this is probably the reason the baby passed. But then this time around, I had this little thing in my head where I was like, well, what if this baby does have it, but it hasn't passed because of it? Because I have friends who have children who have Down syndrome who are like perfectly healthy, like amazing healthy children. I'm like, maybe this baby was stronger, but still will have the T21. And I kind of prepped myself for that. And I was like deep in a Reddit thread, an NIPT Reddit thread, talking to other mums, like just to see kind of how people were handling the news. And anyway, when I got that, it was such a sweet relief and also kind of shocking. I just like had the assumption that was the way it was going to go again. And I think it's because I'm 39 years old now. I just turned 39. I got pregnant at 38. And And I also feel just so grateful and so lucky to already have 4 healthy babies that I was just kind of waiting for the penny to drop. But the moment I got those results, I landed in Byron, and then it was like, I told everyone. I told my managers, my agents, I told my dad, my stepmom, I told my sisters, I told a couple of my other best friends that I hadn't told yet. There were a couple of people who are trying to get pregnant at the moment that I held off on telling, because I know that brings feelings up, and it has for me previously in the past. And so I wanted to be sensitive to their needs as well. And something that I've been learning through my forum is a way to show up for people in your life who might have been trying for a while and haven't had that good news yet is to actually leave them a voice message, and like a little voice text. And instead of it just being a text that they see, a voice message being like, hey, I just wanted to let you know this news, and I also want to hold the space for whatever feelings come up for that. Like, I understand if you've been through it before. You can also say, like, I know that feeling, and I just wanted to sensitively tell you, and just say, like, I'm rooting for you, and I know, like, your time will come. And anyway, so I had 2 friends that I, like, did that version of telling that I was pregnant to. So that was the 10th. That was the 10th week and the 11th week. The 11th week flew by because I was in LA and then I was back again. And by the time I got back, I was like 11 and a half weeks already. And I had that good news. On my 12th week, exactly 12 weeks, I had a doctor's appointment. And I should say this, like, once I got those NIPT results back, I suddenly was like, I'm taking this seriously now. So I messaged my midwife and I was like, I officially want to on board with you. And then I messaged my other midwife and I was like, my midwife, Julie, who's been with me for the last 3 births, I'm going to fly her from Adelaide. She's a private midwife, to be my lead midwife during the birth. And then my other midwife, Libby, here in Byron, is going to be like my point midwife for all the pre-pregnancy stuff. Not pre-pregnancy, all the pre-birth, oh my God, prenatal stuff. So any of the scans, any of the checkups, the belly stuff, she'll be checking in with Julie, who's back in Adelaide, but she'll see me through the pregnancy. And then when Julie arrives, she'll be my main person during the birth, but I'll have both of them there, which will be really nice. And they're both really, like, revered in the industry and just classic, amazing midwives. So I'm feeling really good about that. And my choice to home birth feels good, nervous, but I feel like that's the right choice. And so that was kind of another thing, was like, I officially was like, oh my God, let's go. Like, I need to start getting the blood tests for my titers, which is my antibodies. And I need to, and that's another thing, I think I spoke about that in the last video, is that because this was not an IVF baby, I didn't know if the baby was healthy. And so I didn't know if that meant that my antibodies were going to jump up with this baby and then I didn't get a take-home baby at the end of the day. And that was kind of the biggest fear and the reason why we had turned to IVF in the first place. But anyway, the universe had other plans, and this is a naturally conceived baby. So, or unassisted conception. Sorry, I got interrupted. But I'm just feeling really, really excited. And then I'm now 12 weeks, 3 days, and there's been like a couple of little things this week, which will be important to talk about. But in terms of how I'm feeling, I feel like once I hit 12 weeks, my nausea went. I'm feeling like a new woman, and there's still been like the sporadic nighttime where I'm like, I feel a bit gross. but I feel like a new woman in terms of my energy. And I'm just excited, and I'm really showing now. But yeah, so guys, if anyone's struggling through their nausea, hopefully you're in the same boat as me, where once you get through the end of that 11th week, things start to really change in the 12th week. But yeah, so that's it. That's the update for now. It's been awesome. I'm so excited, especially now that I'm not feeling as crap. And yeah, kids are so excited. Every morning Prairie goes, I want to kiss the baby, and comes and kisses the tummy. And it just feels good that this news is out now, and I don't have to hide this big belly. I can just be open with it. And then once I'm publicly out, it's even better, then everyone knows and I'm not hiding it. So, wishing you well. I hope your pregnancies are going well if you're pregnant. And thank you for just joining me for this journey. So cool to be doing this again. Okay.